Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Q2 FY22 earnings conference call of Sharda Motor Industries Limited. This conference call may contain forward-looking statements about the company, which are based on the beliefs, opinions, and expectations of the company as on the date of this call. These statements are not the guarantees of future performance and involve risks and uncertainties that are difficult to predict. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during this conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Srinivasan N., Chief Financial Officer of Sharda Motor Industries Limited. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to all. A very warm welcome to everyone present today. And I wish you all a very happy Diwali and a prosperous New Year on behalf of Sharda Motor Industries Limited. Along with me today, I have Mr. Asim Relan, our Chief Executive Officer, and as well as our investor relation agency, Strategic Growth Advisors, present on this call. Hope all of you have received our investor presentation by now. For those who have not, you can view them on the stock exchange. Let me first start with the industry highlights for the period. After the disruptions caused by the second wave of COVID in Q1 of FY22, the demand started to recover in auto industry. However, soon the industry faced shortage of semiconductors, which has impacted the entire ecosystem. Also, rise in the fuel costs have impacted overall vehicle running costs, and customers are increasingly become considerate of the recent rise in fuel prices. The positive side is that the demand sentiment is still strong. With a decent monsoon and continuing investment in rural infrastructure, the Indian automotive sector is expected to remain stable in the near term. Now coming to the business performance, the Q2 of FY22, we registered a strong year-on-year revenue growth of 32% with a value of 587 crores on the back of better volumes across segments compared to the previous year where COVID affected the volumes. We expect the market to be stable in the upcoming quarters. We also see a strong legislative tailwind kicking over the next 2 to 3 years, which will enable us to increase content per vehicle and increase our total addressable market. We already have our product basket ready, which meets the new BS6 RDE norms, CEV, as well as Trend Stage 4 and 5 regulations. Again, the recently announced PLI scheme will be a significant boost to the auto industry, and we expect the momentum to continue in coming years. On the financial front, our consolidated revenue from operations for the quarter was 587 crores versus 444 crores in Q2 of FY21, which is a growth of 32%. And in terms of the half year, it was 1,059 crores against the 548 crores of last half year, which is a growth of 93%. Further, on a sequential basis, compared to Q1, our revenue grew by 24%. Our EBITDA, including other income, stood at rupees 71 crores in Q2 against 40 crores in Q2 of last year, a growth of 77%. EBITDA margins, including other income, were 12% for Q2 as compared to 9% of last year's Q2. In H1 of financial year 22, the EBITDA was 118 crores against 36 crores of H1 of financial year 21. Again, a growth of 229%. EBITDA margins, including other income, was at 11% in H1 of FY22 as compared to 6.5% in H1 of FY21. Our PBT margin rose to 10.4% in Q2 as against the 6.5% of previous year's Q2. During the quarter, the share of loss of JV and associates was rupees 4 crores with lower volumes in the CV segment. Our consolidated PAT, profit after tax, including the profit or loss from the JV and associates, was at INR 42 crores compared to 21 crores in Q2 of FY21 which is a 100% increase year-on-year. And rupees 24 crore of Q1, it is again an increase of close to 90%. We continue to remain debt-free with about 286 crores of surplus cash as on 30th September. All our further expansions are internally to be funded by internal accruals while maintaining the cash surplus position. With our march towards better volumes and profitability and our prudent use of capital, we have a healthy improvement in ROC. With this, I would like to open the floor for questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Anyone who would like to ask a question, please press star and 1 at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Pritesh Chheda from Lucky Investment Managers. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, sir. Season's greetings and congratulations for the good numbers. I have 3 questions. First, within PV, I wanted to know, I know the PV mix at 60%, but what is the relevance of Kia, M&M and Tata Motor in that 60% combined, if you could give the number? My second question is, in the roof systems, have we got XUV 700 order and also M&M being our client? In the exhaust system also, do we have the orders for that particular vehicle? And my last question is on the CV Eber JV. There is a roadmap for profitability improvement and second plant. If you could help us update what is the progress there and when should we see these 2 things happening, which is profitability improvement, second plant coming. Thank you, and these are my questions.
Sure. So, hi, this is Ashin, and I'll be taking the question. So, season's greetings to you as well. So let's start with the first question. In terms of the breakup, the exact numbers not in front of us, but we'll revert back within the 60% the contributors of the top 3 customers. The second question regarding model specific. So model specific we can't comment, but in general, yes, Mahindra is a strong client for us, one of our biggest clients, and we do have good content across all the models, including the new models for Mahindra, and that does include the latest launches. On the third side, with the Eberspacher JV, with the second plant, we are very hopeful to be into a break-even situation. But given the commercial vehicle volumes being quite low this quarter, and added with the semiconductor shortage, sales did not pick up in this quarter. But as the sales pick up, we will be seeing a very good improving situation in the joint venture, and that is a little bit contingent on commercial vehicle volumes and the semiconductor situation specific to 1 or 2 customers which we are taking in the joint venture.
Sir, clarifications on 2 answers that you gave. So on the CV Eber JV, when is the second plant coming? And when you say profitability improvement, does it mean that when the industry goes back to its pre-COVID peak number of, let's say, 3.5 lakh MHCVs, that's the time where even our JV becomes profitable, or the JV profitability can be much earlier than that?
Sure. So first, the second plant has started already, and just the volumes have not picked up because of the semiconductor shortage, but the start of production is already there for the second plant, and it is up and running. In terms of the profitability, it will happen much sooner than when the CV industry picks up. Right now, it is substantially low specifically for this quarter. So even if we see some slight improvement or at least a semi-normal scenario also, the JV will be in a very good position to have some good numbers.
In the roofing system, the mix in the revenue, which is 5%, where do you see it heading to, sir?
So the roofing system is actually a niche category that we are doing. We don't do all kinds of roofs. We only do the convertible canopy when it comes to a roofing system. We are doing the convertible canopy and a little bit of the soft top canopy. We don't do hard roofs as of now.
Convertible canopies is those not the glass ones, right? That's how you put it.
No, not the glass ones. We are not yet in the sunroof business. We are on the business where you can put the roof into the bonnet and the way it comes out, a convertible.
Oh, okay. Understood, sir. Thank you very much.
Soft top.
Okay. Thank you very much and all the best to you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Saurabh Jain from Sushil Finance. Please go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, congratulations for the great set of numbers and thank you for taking my questions. I have a couple of questions. First one is with reference to slide number 10, that is legislation tailwinds. You have mentioned that the new norms in off-road and on-road would drive the addressable markets at a CAGR of 114 and 7% respectively over the next 5 years. And that's what Mahindra was also talking about in yesterday's media appearance, that farm equipment segment is likely to grow 10x in next 6-7 years. So could you please let us know what would be the size of these addressable markets as of now, and what are we looking at in next 3-4 years?
Yes, sure. So yeah, one, we are very excited about the off-road segment. Currently, our product does not go into the off-road segment because the legislation does not call for it. But as the TREM 4 and TREM 5 legislation comes in, the emission product will be required across mostly all tractors, construction equipment, etc. And we expect a very good growth coming in from that segment. In terms of the total addressable market, it is going to double or even triple for us as we go into these legislations, because the entire segment, each tractor will require our product, and our core customers already are very strong in the tractor segment, and they are expecting a very good growth in that front as well, which has been noted in some of the earnings calls recently as well. So yeah, overall, it is a very exciting opportunity for our company, the legislations which we have mentioned on slide 10.
Yeah, so I get it, double or triple, but what would be the size of the addressable market as of now? So that we'll get to know what kind of addressable market we are looking at in a couple of years down the line.
So yeah, rather than an exact number, because there are variables in terms of content and the exact formation of the market, but it would run into a few thousand crores.
Okay, that's helpful. My second question is Eberspacher JV's first plant has been live for more than a year. I believe has it turned around? Because the loss of 4 odd crores, I believe it's broadly pertains to both the plants. Or if you can tell me when is the JVs likely to turn around, and going forward, would the margins eventually get in line with our margins, or it would be better margins?
So yeah, we have done a lot of cost-saving initiatives as well as improvement initiatives in the joint venture. So as soon as there is an uptick in sales, it will start turning around, and we are hopeful for it to happen soon. It is a little bit contingent on the commercial vehicle market as well as the semiconductor situation. In terms of margins, once the JV matures, its margins are expected to be at similar levels to ours. But for that, it will take some time, as it is still a new JV, and it will take some time to mature to that level, but we do expect margins to be of a similar category to us.
Okay. So the first plant has also been not turned around?
No, the plant is turned around. It's just that in particular quarters, it totally depends on the sales situation now. And the orders are there. It's just the end customers' production numbers are fairly low, and they are low largely due to the semiconductor shortage now, because these products in specific are facing much more shortage impact than other products on the passenger vehicle.
Okay, fine. My last question is about the usage of cash. I believe in AGM or a call after that, previous conference call, you had mentioned that lithium-ion batteries and all these new investment won't require much of capex. And I believe with such a strong generation of cash, going forward, our ROCs will, it will affect our ROCs going forward. So what is our strategy on that? Since in the past you have mentioned that we don't have any, we will be looking for financial investments rather than a strategy.
Yeah, so we will be utilizing the cash either for inorganic opportunities or to return it back to the shareholders, and both options remain open. We are actively looking at inorganic opportunities as well, and as they mature, we will keep you updated. But we are cognizant of the fact that the cash generation is going to be strong, and the capex required for some of our core products is only incremental. So we will be utilizing it in an efficient way to ensure that the ROC and ROE are in check with the cash flows coming in.
Great. Thank you and all the best.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star and 1 to ask a question at this time. The next question is from the line of Viraj from Securities Investment Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah, hi, sir. Congratulations on a good set of numbers. I have a couple of questions. One is, sir, if I understand our revenue profile in terms of our customers, what we had seen is that there were significant production cuts across our key customers like Hyundai and all. But still, we've seen a strong growth in the top line. So what will you ascribe this revenue growth to? Is it like we've gained more market share, or just to understand?
Sure. So it's a combination of factors. One is that this was the first quarter where we could stably produce our new products, right? So this quarter is a depiction of our overall business development that we did previously. And second, we have gained a little bit over competition in few areas, so that has also benefited us in outperforming, let's say, the industry when it comes to revenues.
Okay, so the new products which you mentioned, which we had introduced, and this is the first quarter we operated fully, what would be their revenue contribution for the quarter? Like, would they be like 10-15% of the revenue as of now?
Yeah, so no, most of our products, in fact, I would say all the products are new only because with the BS6 legislation. What I meant by that, this is the first stable quarter. Otherwise, either there was COVID coming in or one thing or the other, right? So this is the first stable quarter that we got where our customers were also starting to produce all the models in the configuration that we have products attached to.
Okay.
So
And
most of the products are new only. So yeah.
And similarly, what we've seen in Auto Anks for this year, like this whole quarter, the story has been that the top line growth was very strong, but every company was suffering on the gross profit. But we've done a pretty decent job with an improvement in margin profile. Is it like more higher value addition of products which has played out in terms of better gross margin, or what has helped us improve our gross margin both sequentially and year on year, and do you think it's sustainable?
And maybe I'll take up that question.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you. So in terms of the gross margin, it is absolutely right. We have done a very good performance compared to previous quarters. The few key factors in favor of this are, one is our cost improvement initiatives. Even in the last call, we spoke about it. I think there are realizations of these initiatives that have kicked in this quarter. Secondly, we had a great product mix in quarter two, which was favorable in terms of our margins. Again, as our CEO said, the new product production was stabilizing in quarter two, and that gave us a healthy output and the margin ratio. Again, in terms of the sustainability, we believe that these margins are sustainable except subject to the product mix, which we feel was really favorable during quarter two. And of course, our commodity and cost saving initiatives are going to continue, and that will help us sustain this.
Okay. And last question on the JV side, sir. As I understand, the Hibbert-Parker JV is more on the CV side. And this question was earlier asked also, and you said that as the scale comes up, and what we have seen is that the CV had seen a pretty good, decent growth in the quarter, but still the losses have increased. So is it what would be the minimum or the threshold level for us to break even in this JV at the revenue at the top line level?
Sure. So one, that the products that we are producing in the joint venture, they have not increased in this quarter because of the semiconductor shortage. So the customer was unable to produce much of those trucks where our systems are going in. In terms of a break-even level, maybe Srini, if you can add to it.
Yes. In terms of the break-even, we are looking at a revenue of 200 crores for the JV to break even. So as we know, last year we had about 140 crore, and now we are looking at 200 crore at least, and we are yet to see that kind of a volume in JV.
Okay. And last question, sir, because you interact with a large number of OEMs. On the semiconductor side, the noise which was there, that Q2, it was very severe, and incrementally what everyone is saying that the things are relaxing. How are you reading it, or what's the sense you are getting from the customers that incrementally, do you see that the production level should improve, or what's the reading you are getting?
Sure. We feel that the situation remains to be dynamic, and it is not easy to predict how production will pan out in the next couple of quarters. We are optimistic but very cautious that the global situation of semiconductors remains to be tight.
Okay. Sure. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks for the explanation.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vishal Srivastava from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Thank you for taking my question, sir. Congratulations for very strong numbers despite of the current challenges. Sir, a couple of questions, in fact, follow up of one of the earlier questions, since the scenario of demand has been comparatively better in Q2. So just wanted to know, sir, what would be the average utilization levels you would be having for this quarter?
So I'll take that. In terms of the capacity, we are at 85% utilization.
Okay. Okay, sir. Sir, my second question is regarding what kind of capex you are expecting for FY22 full year?
So it's basically only an incremental capex. We have so far incurred about 14 crores, and probably in the similar levels for the second half year.
Okay. Sir, any guidance in terms of top line growth or margin expansion you would like to give for FY22 and going forward?
We don't think. Yeah, sure. Sure, Ashwin.
Okay. Yeah. So I think there's no specific guidance that we would like to give, but we are optimistic for the next few years for sure. in terms of top line growth as well as a good cycle that we are going into.
Okay. Sir, just one follow-up to this answer. What can be the maximum top line you can generate from current gross block, and do we need a minor debottlenecking to fuel that kind of growth you are looking for?
Yeah. So our product is very, very modular in nature, and it is more intellectual property driven. So when it comes to the physical asset side of it, usually it only requires incremental capex to augment capacity. And that is what our forecast is showing as well, that we could substantially improve our sales with incremental capacity or incremental capex to increase capacity.
Okay. Thanks for the answer, sir. That was my question. Thank you, and all the best, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ronak Vora from AUM Fund Advisors. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Sir, to follow up on the question of the previous participant, what kind of turnover can we do from the current gross block? If you could, just give an asset turnover number 2 times, 3 times, whatever.
Our asset turnover as of now on a yearly basis is about 8 times.
8 times. Okay. And sir, on the JV end, how much have we invested with Ebba-Pasha for the CV segment? And how do you see the whole ramp up going in the next 2 to 3 years if with the legislation norms coming in, and what kind of turnover and profitability do we see in the next 3 to 4 years? If you could give a picture or give a sense about it.
Shini, if you could provide the exact number on the investment side, and I can take the balance of the question.
Okay, so in terms of the investment, we are at about 50 crores in the JV, and in terms of the capex, and in terms of the overall investment, it will be about 110 crores, and we are looking for getting to break even. So maybe Ashim San, you would like to take up on the volume side.
Yeah. So in the next 2-3 years, we are very optimistic on the joint venture, and not being able to give an exact number in terms of sales or margins, we feel that we'll be able to substantially improve the sales from where we are, as we have won some new models, as well as we have the top 2 customers already in commercial vehicles. And as the norms change into RD, we are very optimistic about the next 2-3 years when it comes to the Ebba-Pasha joint venture.
Sir, okay, I understand you cannot give numbers, but in terms of wallet share with the top 2 customers that we are currently supplying, are we seeing any increasing wallet shares, or are they like ordering more from us? Is our quality of product much superior to what others are supplying? If you could give a better picture, and how is it turning out currently?
Yeah. So the models which we have won, that will lead to an increased wallet share coming into next financial year. So as these models start being produced.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sabyasachi Mukherjee from Centrum PMS. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity. So I have a few questions. First of all, can you just share the percentage contribution from the value-added products in this quarter?
Sorry, I didn't get the question. If you can just repeat it. It was a little bit easy.
Yeah, hi. So my question is, can you just share the percentage revenue contribution from the value-added products in this quarter?
I think Srini, you can take it.
So basically, we don't give the numbers on the value added, but it is almost in the similar levels, maybe a slight change from the previous quarter. But we don't give away the value added numbers as of now due to the restrictions to the customer.
So can you just share the traded revenues then the other way around? What was the traded revenue this quarter?
Sorry, your voice is little feeble. Can you please be louder?
Yeah, I'm asking that can you share the traded revenues portion in the quarter the other way around?
Yeah, Mr. Sabesi, it means the same. Either way, it will give out the value added number. So we are just trying to get the permission on that. The subsequent calls we'll be able to share.
Understand. So from a probably a directional basis, is it fair to assume that whatever revenue contribution from value-added products was there in FY21, probably a year or 2 years down the line, the percentage will go up and probably it will increase our margin profile? Is it a fair understanding?
It's not directly, proportional to the way the value add changes, but definitely, it depends on the mix. If the mix is favorable in terms of the value add, it helps us when the value added content goes up.
Okay. My second question is on the market size. You mentioned that so in terms of the PV exhaust systems, probably the market size is around few thousand crores. And if I'm not wrong, that we are having around a 30% market share. So directionally, what is the typical growth rate that you guys look at in this entire market size, and what is the game plan in terms of increasing this market share or holding on to it?
Okay. So because your voice is not coming very clear, if you can just repeat, was the question to do with PV or CV? I could not get that.
The passenger vehicle, the PV exhaust system.
Okay, just if you can repeat the question. So passenger vehicles, what exactly?
So one is the market size growth, what you are estimating, and the second is your market share or wallet share into it. So directionally increasing, holding on to the 30% share. What is your outlook?
Sure. And we have a 30% share in the passenger vehicle market. So in terms of growth, there are two avenues of growth. One is as the market grows, of course, in terms of the number of cars produced, that is going to increase the market. Second, the legislation coming in 2023-24, which is BS6 RDE, that increases the content per vehicle for our product, and it changes between gasoline and diesel, but anywhere between 10 to 25% is where the content increases per vehicle. So that has an outperformance when it comes in terms of market size growth into PV. Market share in general, we are always, aiming to improve our market share and go towards one of the bigger customers that we don't have. So we are always working towards that on how we can sustain and improve our market share when it comes to the PV industry.
Okay, and similarly in the commercial vehicle front, so if you just can throw some light on what is the current market size, and again similarly what growth aspects over there, and your market share strategy.
Yeah, our market share strategy when it comes to CV is to increase it substantially, and this is by improving our wallet share with the largest customer and the second largest customer in the segment, as well as adding some new business to it. In terms of market size growth, it is very similar to passenger vehicles, that the same norms are going to come into commercial vehicles as well, and that gives them window for resourcing for the customers, and we are hopeful to gain some new models in that window that will open up in 2023-24, and the work for that has already begun. And as it matures, we will keep you updated.
Sorry, sir, last bit. What is the current market share in the commercial vehicle that we enjoy right now?
It ranges between 10 to 20%, usually at the 15-16% mark. It depends on the production levels of particular models at the OEM.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Chirag Shah from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Hello, am I audible? Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah, hello. So I have two questions actually. One, a broad one first. So on this, the JV that we have done with, with Kinetic Green, on battery and management BMS. Can you throw some light on how that business will work? Because battery and BMS both are very strategic, and why would somebody come to the JV to source them? And what is our part of contribution in that JV? Can you throw some light over there? The business, what is the thought process on the business model of that entity?
Sure. So Kinetic is our anchor customer for the joint venture, and we will be supplying the BMS and the assembly of the battery to them. The reason why we are working together is that they wanted to offload the battery onto a new entity. So we already have an anchor customer where we will be supplying the battery system and BMS. By doing that as phase one, this is our entry into a new space of two-wheelers and three-wheelers, and it will enable us to develop sub-components which we will be able to cross-sell across other customers. So our expectation is that the overall battery and the BMS we will only supply to Kinetic, but the sub-components within that we will be able to cross-sell to other customers. But this joint venture we are looking at in a phase manner. Right now we are fully focused on phase one, which is to productionize the incumbent business with the Kinetic OEM.
Okay. So this JV is only for vehicles made by Kinetic Green, right? And it is Kinetic Green is not in itself doing an outsourcing work for other players.
The phase one of the JV is focused on Kinetic Green vehicles, and phase two will include other customers as well for sub-components as well as some of the battery systems as well.
And by when can we expect some production over there?
We are hopeful for Q3 next year. So around that time, we are hopeful to begin phase one.
Yeah. The second question was on this emission norms, the new emission norms for tractors and RD. Now, the content increase that you've indicated, what would be the split between the value add and the traded in that increase in content? Would it be similar to the current mix, or it is more towards value add, the content increase?
So value add and brick is only a matter of choice of the OEM, how they want to source the product and whether they want to provide the brick free of cost or whether they want us to trade in it. We are working towards a business model where we will be focusing only on the value added side in the tractor market as well as the other legislations that are coming.
So on the tractor, the content jump that you have indicated, you are referring to only the value add portion, right? That is the right way to understand.
Yes.
Okay, because the margin profile in value add would be far higher than the average reported margins.
Yes.
And on the CV side also, because even there you are indicating a 10 to 15% or a 10 to 20% increase in value content. So again, how the split will be over there on the PV and CV side?
Yeah, whenever I'm referring to content, it is all meaning of value added only. So we discuss mainly value added when it comes to content increase because that is what drives the margin.
Okay. And sir, last just a clarification for M&M and say Tata Motors, the two of our customers, the share of business that we have in PV and the share of business that we have in CV is how different it is? Is it significantly different? Because overall CV market share that you indicated is in 10 to 20% only.
Yeah. So without commenting on customers specifically, the PV business as well as the smaller commercial vehicle business is done through our standalone entity, and there we have a higher market share. When we look at the heavy commercial vehicle business, which is above 3-liter engines, we do it through our joint venture with Eberspacher. The joint venture with Eberspacher is a much newer company. So as of now, it has lower market share, but we are hopeful as it matures, it would get better market share as well with all customers.
Okay. The 10 to 20% market share that you indicated current just before answering the previous participant's call was referring to Eberspacher specifically, or it was including Eberspacher plus Sharda standalone business?
Eberspacher. Sharda standalone business is under 3-liter engines. We don't do over 3-liter engines in the standalone.
So over there, our market share would be similar to what is there in PV, right? Or it could be even higher actually.
It will be even higher. And it is hard to differentiate under 3 liters between CV and PV because most of the customers use the same engine for both, but we have a very strong market share in the under 3-liter CV.
Okay. Now this is helpful. And last, if I can just squeeze in one more, is there any price hike that you have got in the quarter which pertains to earlier periods based on the negotiation that you would have completed? Is there any price hike that you have got in the current quarter or which you have accounted in the current quarter, let me use the right word, which pertains to the earlier periods because OEM would have agreed to it now?
So nothing specific as such, and there's always, the indexing, etc. that is going on, but nothing specific that we would comment on.
Okay, so nothing unusual. Okay, great. Thank you very much, sir. And all the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone who would like to ask a question, you may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Sonal Kohli from Bowhead Investment Advisors. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir, and congratulations on very good set of numbers. I just missed one part of the answer you gave on the size of the tractor market. The connection wasn't very clear. Did you define it either in terms of per vehicle, or in terms of, TREM 4 or TREM 5 or any benchmark? Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
So no particular or specific definition that we are giving to it. The larger emission norm will definitely be TREM 5, and the content per tractor is going to be very similar to commercial vehicles as of now. But we are not putting any specific number to it because it is a little bit dynamic as of now.
But is it fair to assume that in TREM 4 per vehicle it will be much higher, or it would be broadly similar per vehicle in TREM 4, TREM 5,
TREM 4 and TREM 5, the difference will be on the horsepower of the tractor. So let's look at TREM 5 only to simplify. And in TREM 5, it is going to be substantially high. TREM 4 also, some tractors will be very high, but it's just based on horsepower range. So to simplify, TREM 5 would be when the full tractor industry or 95% of it will require our product.
Sir, I was not referring to that. What I meant to ask was that, per vehicle, because of the highest horsepower, is it like TREM 4, while it may be 5% of volume, but would it be like per vehicle 2x of TREM 5 or any very ballpark number, if it's possible for you to get?
Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Kohli. Your voice is breaking up, so it's not very clear. I would request you to move to a better reception area, please.
My apologies. Am I audible?
I could get the question that it is that whether TREM 4 products will be similar to TREM 5, right? So yes, they would be very similar products.
So TREM 4 per vehicle wouldn't be significantly higher than TREM 5 per vehicle, right?
Yeah, TREM 4 and TREM 5 would be very similar. In TREM 4, it would be a smaller size of the market which would require the emission product. In TREM 5, it would be a larger part of the market. But the product itself would be similar with slight changes.
Sir, in your slide, where you talk about regulatory changes and the impact, you mentioned RDE norms will result in addressable market CAGR of 7% over the next 5 years. When you say this, I mean, is there any volume assumption in this, or, how do you get this 7% between volume and value, and considering, all the bases are normal for last 2 years, what is this CAGR,
Just your voice is a little bit unclear, but what I could get from it, this is largely to do with the content increase, which is mentioned in our presentation.
And sir, why would it be CAGR? Is it like going to incrementally increase every year, or it's all at one go in April 2023?
It's in one go. It's in one go. I think we've just mentioned it as CAGR, but it is really in one go only. So you can calculate in that sense also. And we could change that within the presentation. Only it's in one go in 2023 on.
So it's like a 40% increase.
Something in the range. In the range, what we'll do is we will update it on the presentation.
Great. And sir, on the CV side, these changes you're referring to, what will be the impact per vehicle, as in like, in terms of, these regulatory changes?
Sorry, if you can just repeat the question, please.
Sir, on the CV side of it, what will be the content increase per vehicle because of these regulatory changes?
So commercial vehicles above 3 liters, there won't be a substantial change in the content. For commercial vehicles below 3 liters, it would be similar to what we will see in passenger vehicles.
And sir, is my understanding correct that tractor is a 2-player market, or the tractor would still be a 3-player market just like the car market? And what would be the case in case of the MHCV market? Is it also a 3-player market?
Yeah, so the MHCV and the tractor market are similar, which will be 3-player markets. Just on the tractor front, 2 players are expected to be stronger and one is not showing enough interest yet, but it is largely going to be a 3-player market as well, just like MHCV.
So lastly, your exhaust systems were mentioned in the PLI schemes. So do we have any plans for that? And if we have plans for this, would our joint venture partner be interested in sourcing something from India? Anything, whatever is possible at this stage, and if any plans you already have in mind, or are you applying for this?
Yes, so we just in fact received some notification of it very recently. So we are still studying it, and as we build plans around it, we will keep you updated.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Karthikeyan VK from Suyash Advisors. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon. Congratulations on a very impressive performance. A couple of things. One is, can you talk about whether there is any progress made on exports in terms of either components or through the joint venture partner, for the joint venture partner, either way?
Yeah, so and this quarter we have no specific updates, but there is work going on this initiative, and we are expecting the results for it probably from next year, where we would be able to provide some updates on it. But the work is going on in the back end, just that it is not in a stage where we could comment on it as of now.
Yes. Second thing is more in terms of some perspective on how you see these regulatory changes impacting demand. Assuming that because tractors are a politically sensitive product, the TREM regulations are not implemented or deferred. How does that change your growth plans? Also, some color on where you see yourself, say, 3-4 years down the line. So just a flavor of it.
If you could repeat the last question.
So I was saying, looking beyond all this, say as the full potential plays out in each of these 3 categories, which is passenger vehicles and tractors and commercial vehicles, say FY24 or 25, how do you visualize, Sharda Motors from a revenue mix point of view? Whatever. Some thoughts on it would be interesting.
Sure. So we are actively building a new vertical, which the beginning is just of the EV vertical from the Kinetic JV, but we will be building on that and we would be able to see very good results coming into 2024-25. And second, when it comes to these legislations on the off-road side, we are very confident that we would be able to develop a global market for this. And this would not just be an India play, but rather a global play. So all the products that we are designing for the Indian market, we are keeping into mind the legislations in Europe and US, and we are looking at how we could utilize the same modules to export out. So in the year 2024-25, we would also be looking at that as a very big market for us.
Interesting. Yeah, sure. Thanks and very best wishes.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Hiral Shah from Phillip Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir, and thanks for the opportunity. So my question is pertaining to the CEV4, which just got implemented in April 2021. So wanted to know what is the content per vehicle improvement we have seen in that?
Which legislation are you referring to?
Sir, CEV4, which got implemented from April 2021 this year.
EV4?
Yes.
Okay. I think that maybe on the date side that there might be a slight difference now when it comes to CEV4, but we will understand this offline and revert back to you on this question. Because I think there may be a date difference on this legislation, or what you are referring to it as and what we call it internally might be slightly different.
Okay, because in your presentation, it was there CEV4 April 2021 and Train 4 April 2022.
Okay, understood. So that is probably starting now in October because of some COVID-related delays, etc. And that is going to be new products only on the off-highway side, and it would probably show in the numbers coming into FY23 now. So it would be maybe next year or next to next year, but this is not a very substantial legislation, if I'm understanding you correct, just because the line is a little bit unclear, but we will revert back to you on this specific question.
Okay, not an issue, sir. And lastly, sir, if you can help us to understand your revenue contribution from PV, CV and off-road, because I was looking into the presentation, but I didn't find anything.
Sure. Srini, if you could take that, please.
Yeah. So in terms of our contribution, it's PV and CV are almost similar levels at 45%, and the rest are from the suspension, the procurement business and the canopy business.
And sir, how much is the export contribution?
Export contribution is about 6%, 4%.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Chirag Shah from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sir. Thanks for the opportunity again. And I just got disconnected in between. I have one question is on the new products that you are working on. You had referred to that earlier. Can you indicate how are you looking at expanding your product portfolio outside what you are trying to develop on the EV side, or even on the EV side? What is the thought process over there?
Sure. So we are taking it in a very phased manner. The products which we are most excited about is, of course, our first phase for the EV, which is the BMS and the battery system. And as a result of that, we are also working on products which are subcomponents to the battery and BMS system, which we will be doing on a standalone basis. When it comes to other products on the export side, we are working on some proprietary stamping products which do go into emission systems, but then also bring about a very good export market. And we are in active discussions to be expanding our product portfolio. And as those stocks mature in, we will keep updating on that as well.
Yeah, this is helpful, but sir, slightly on a broader side. So within the organization, there must be some thought process to expand your product basket. Okay, so have you boiled down the broader areas or how you are looking at expanding it? Because while exhaust systems are doing well, you very well recognize that there is
some kind of risk, if not near term, definitely over long term for the exhaust system. So is there any other products that you're looking which could be engine neutral or something like that, where there is an opportunity, or via acquisition where you're trying to, is inorganic activity a part of our strategy?
Yes, so absolutely. So one, in general, we are working towards a powertrain agnostic strategy. So unconditional of the powertrain mix as we go forward in the next 5-10 years, our content will remain the same. Now, on the organic side or on the standalone side are the products which I mentioned, but we are actively looking at inorganic side as well as joint ventures and partnerships to build the basket of products. And we are in conversations with multiple companies, but all the conversations remain to be on not a mature stage yet. So as they become mature, we will update on that. But definitely the inorganic side is also part of the strategy and will be a good way to become powertrain agnostic. Overall, broadly, we expect to be powertrain agnostic in all segments as we do expect shifts coming in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. So whenever you can, if you can elaborate on this aspect, it would be really helpful for other investors and analysts.
Absolutely. And we will be updating as we get to maturity on much of the inorganic side, but we are actively in discussion and as well as scanning for opportunities on inorganic front as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. As there are no further questions from the participants, I now hand the conference over to Mr. Srinivasan N for closing comments.
Thank you. So it was a great interaction with all of you. To conclude, I would like to say that we have a very strong legislative tailwind leading to increase in content per vehicle along with positive volume trend in series. We expect the PV volumes will soon start its upward trajectory on the back of improving the chip availability as well as improvement in overall macroeconomic scenario. We are also very excited on the two-wheeler and three-wheeler EV opportunity that we are targeting through our JV with Kinetic Green. We are prepared in terms of technologies and strategic partnership to capitalize all these opportunities. I take this opportunity to thank everyone for joining the call. I hope we have been able to address all of your queries, and we will also get back to you wherever we were not having the details immediately. And for any further information, kindly get in touch with me or Strategic Growth Advisors, our investor relation agency. Thank you so much.
Thank you. On behalf of Sharda Motor Industries Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.